Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending this 5th webinar in Engage's Association Best Practice Series. Today's subject is SEO for associations, creating success with market data and SEO in 2017. The question was already asked, will recording of this presentation be made? Yes, it will be, and it will be available on Engage's site, engagesoftware.com/webinars. And along with previous recordings of webinars in the series that include the importance of UX and web design, millennial engagement strategies, improving the online member experience, and member data collection. Those are all available again at engagesoftware.com/webinar. My name is Jason Stone. I'm your host today, and I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Engage. Throughout this series, we've invited leading experts to discuss and share insights on a variety of topics related to the successful administration and growth of associations. Before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to go over just a few basic housekeeping items. All attendees are in listen-only mode, so if you have questions, there will be a Q&A session at the end, but you are welcome to post your questions in the question function, which you'll find on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer those at the end of the presentation. A recording of today's presentation, again, will be sent out to all attendees, and as I mentioned, will be available on the website. At the end of the webinar, please take a minute to take our 5-question survey. Your feedback will help us improve on the quality of future events. From the entries, we will draw one lucky winner today for a $25 Amazon gift card, and I know from some of our return attendees, we have at least one winner from previous webinar with us today. One of the questions in that survey is going to ask for ideas for future topics, and we'd very much appreciate your thoughts to help us guide and grow the series as we move forward. So SEO continues to be of paramount importance to the association space and can be the difference between mediocrity and success online. Today's webinar will share with you about how SEO has changed over time, and our expert is going to provide you with insights on the process and the value of site audits. Our speaker today is Derek Mabie. Derek is the president and founder of Evolve Digital Labs, a customer acquisition and digital strategy firm with operations in St. Louis, Kansas City, and Denver. Under Derek's leadership, Evolve has been ranked in the Inc. 5000 for 3 consecutive years and was 20th fastest growing company in St. Louis in 2015. Engage was 16th on that list.
All right.
Its innovative approach to digital marketing has shaped effective growth strategies for brands like Charter, Merck, SSM Health, and Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We're very thankful that Eric loves to share his knowledge on search, strategy, and data-driven growth. Thank you, Derek. We appreciate your being here.
My pleasure.
Just a second, and the microphone and the keyboard will be yours.
All right. Well, Jason, thanks so much for letting me come on here and talk about Evolve and what we do there at Evolve, primarily search. The company was founded about 7 years ago, and SEO is something we've practiced the whole time. So what we'll talk about today is SEO for associations and what it takes to create success with search, and what are the data pieces you need to look at to get there. So first thing I think is important just to do a quick level set and make sure we're all thinking about SEO the same way. It really has changed over the last few years, and that's a common theme that search experts can talk about generally at any point in time, because as users change and devices change, search is going to change as well. And so how we get brands in front of their potential customers changes right along with it. So a couple of the bullet points you'll see here, at one point in time, you entered keywords for a page in a little keyword box in the CMS, the content management system, and that would help you rank. That would help the search engines understand what your site and your pages were all about. Well, it's not that simple anymore, and it's not exactly that easy anymore. You can't just put meta keywords in and expect the engines to rank your pages. One thing that's always been a challenge with SEO is that it takes time. There's no quick fixes or quick wins. There's no magic silver bullet to make your site appear at the top of search engine rankings. It takes content and time to make that happen. So content, you've heard it numerous times, king. Content is king, and that certainly is the case today. What maybe you're feeling the effects of, but haven't identified or haven't had somebody articulate to you, but the reality is the organic listings, the practice of SEO is challenged by paid search, and Google doing such things as moving 4 paid search results possible to the top of the page has really impacted SEO, and it's impacted what positions will deliver traffic and at what percentages those positions will deliver traffic. And a lot of that has to do, and it was built around paid search and Google's monetization of traffic only through paid search and their desire to drive up the click-through rate of those paid ads. And mobile also impacts that in a similar way. If you notice, when you do searches on mobile devices, you get less results, and those paid ads often take up a larger percentage of that search engine result pages. So those are some of the ways that SEO has changed recently, some things that have always been the case, and some practices that are no longer relevant. But looking at SEO from an importance standpoint from your peers, we can see that in the 2016 association report, those that are effectively leveraging SEO as a tactic, as a part of their larger strategy, are more successful than those not using the tactic. And it's a similar scenario from the previous year. So find those who are doing it well, learn from them, and figure out what techniques you can apply to your own association, your own website. So a couple questions to think about in terms of, is SEO relevant, or how important is SEO, or what should you be worried about in terms of SEO? Here are a couple questions to ask yourself. Can you answer these things? Do you know what the total market size is? In other words, do you know your online opportunity? Do you have a investment strategy? Do you know what those members or those signups are worth? And what type of threats are happening within the marketplace? Is your marketplace being disrupted? Is your industry being disrupted? And is your membership being disrupted? Well, in our mind, a website audit, an SEO audit, they're going to help you answer those questions. So if you don't know the answers to those questions, which, believe it or not, a lot of organizations don't, going through this website audit or an SEO audit is going to help provide that perspective, which really will drive not just your SEO strategy, but potentially other digital marketing strategies as well. The primary reasons that we work with organizations during this audit process or through an audit, it's either because they're experiencing some loss, some decline in sales or membership in this instance. A lot of times the new digital age has forced some sort of brand update or product update. The industry disruption, how people buy or who the customers are, has changed. Those are some of the different reasons that we perform the site audits with our clients, and we find that providing this information can be very impactful. And of course, anytime you make major website changes or website updates, the value of going through an audit is tremendous. You want to make sure that when you make those website changes, when you launch a new website, that you're not losing any of that digital equity that your organization has earned or built up since its inception, since it built the website. And a lot of times we do find that organizations going through a website launch or update won't think about SEO until after the fact, and they'll notice that they have traffic loss or engagement loss, and those things can be avoided if you do make that audit a part of your planning process and your web development process. So the top 3 things we're actually looking for when we conduct an audit, the first is market opportunity. And at Evolve, we define the market as searches happening every month related to your products and services. Now, we separate the market into 2 distinct areas. First, those queries that relate to your product and service, they're a part of the total market. But those queries that relate to your product or service and that unique selling proposition that you offer, whether it's the best, the cheapest, the most trusted, whatever those modifiers to the queries are that really align with what you do uniquely as an organization, those are what we consider your true market. And what we try to help our clients and the organizations we work with understand is that true market, it should be the primary focus. Those are the searchers and the customers that you want to focus on, and those are going to be the searchers that most likely provide you with that positive ROI. The second thing that we're looking for is how do you technically perform? Because the technical assessment gives us both the perspective of how the search engines see you, but it also helps us understand how the users are experiencing your site as well. Those 2 different audiences can have a negative impact on your rankings, certainly your website performance, but even your search engine rankings if you're not up to standards and best practices. A few different ways that we look at that: site response. There are the obvious things like pages not found, that 404 error. Well, that's a signal to Google that maybe the site isn't as trustworthy, or maybe the answers that the consumers are looking for no longer exist on the site, and so they're not going to show your website in the results pages as frequently or as often. It's also a poor user experience. But one of the things that you may not realize is that just like load time is an annoyance to customers if you're taking too long to load, it's a negative signal to the search engines as well. Google wants to serve up fast, mobile-friendly websites to handle what is now a more used Google.com, more used on mobile, more searches happening from mobile than the desktop. So they need to make sure that the sites that they're serving up in their results pages have that mobile experience and that speed that users are looking for. We also do things like content visibility, making sure that all the pages on your site are actually, and all the content on your site is actually viewable and crawlable to the search engines. Because if it's not viewable or crawlable to the engines, you're likely not going to get that that content in front of too many consumers. And finally, page relevancy. Are your pages, are they named? Do they have the content that matches what people are actually searching? And how well do those 2 things play together? It's an important part of making sure that you're found is to move to that language of the consumer, move to that language of the searcher. So those are the technical aspects that we look at. And then finally, in the audit, we want to understand what is the potential click share within the search engine result page. Because not only are there things like the mobile device adding complications and the 4 paid ads on the top of the search engine result pages, there are also things like knowledge graphs. Knowledge graphs are ways that Google displays content in the search engine result page in a unique and non-typical way. For example, things like the map. When you search for your favorite restaurant or home repair facility, you're going to often be served a map in the search engine result pages. All of those different types of ads and content display impact how much click share and how many clicks each position will deliver from the search engine result page. So telling our clients how often they're showing up in their true market, how many impressions are possible in that second column to the from the left, impressions, how many impressions are possible, and then what percentage they're showing up for those searches is critical to display what type of gap or opportunity exists in the market. And then moving on to the clicks and click-through rate, we provide estimates of what each position or the impact of the different types of results have on click-through rate and the number of clicks that you can expect. And ultimately, if you optimize for both organic and have a paid listing, what type of click share is possible to capture out of any given search engine result page. So the three things that we're really looking for, to summarize, we're looking at the market size, we're looking at the technical assessment, and we're looking at the click share. So let's dive a little bit deeper in the true market and how to uncover. First, I want to start with, most of us are used to buying advertising or marketing. We're doing that to drive ROI. But what drives ROI? Historically, when buying that advertising or marketing, we're used to buying things like demographics, because we were sold the magazines, the television shows, the radios, the print ads, the outdoor boards, based on demographics. How many people in this age group or this income level drove past or viewed this advertising? Well, today, in the new model, you don't have to be so all-inclusive with who you're targeting, and you don't have to rely on things like psychographics and demographics to help you identify an audience. And in fact, you can use customer need and behavior in the new model to be more targeted, to eliminate some of the waste, to ensure that your dollars are going towards the most likely target audience that can buy or use your service. We used to operate under the assumption that the more impressions we could get in front of our target audience, the more clicks we would have. And the more clicks we have, or the more visitors we have, the more leads we're going to get. And the more leads, the more sales. But what we've learned through our digital campaigns is that you don't necessarily need to constantly increase impressions to increase the number of clicks. And those number of clicks shouldn't necessarily lead to leads that aren't unqualified, and that you can actually optimize in different ways and ensure that your traffic is the most relevant traffic possible, and that's going to lead to the most sales possible. So now we'll move into prioritizing your marketing mix. One of the additional challenges that we help our clients solve, something that seems to be a common challenge, is where do I put my digital dollars? There's so many channels to dive into. There's so many things to do. This digital universe feels endless. How do I prioritize? The way that we look at prioritization is really focusing your resources to be aligned with the opportunity. And remember, we're looking at the opportunity through the lens of the true market. Those who are searching are those who have behavior attributes indicating a high likelihood of profitability or return on investment. So looking at what resources you have in-house, the things that you can do really well, like design, maybe you have developers or engineers in-house, maybe you have great content writers, or certain knowledge, application knowledge like a CRM or Google Analytics. You look at those resources and which of those capabilities are necessary to be successful in any one particular channel. Take search, for example. To be successful in the search engines, you really do need a great looking website. You need a website that's responsive, that's fast, that's technically proficient. You need great content, and people who understand things like Google Analytics, Search Console. So all of these knowledge levels, all of these resources are necessary to be really successful in search. If that's not something that you have in-house, maybe it's you look at other channels to invest in or identify a good partner. But you can see the difference in what each channel takes in terms of capabilities, skills, knowledge, and ability. Now overlay that with investment, dollars, and/or time against how much value those different channels can provide for your organization. And finally, and possibly my favorite piece of the information that the audit provides, once you're finished with the audit and you know the size of your market, you know what type of engagement you should get through based on your positions and based on target positions in the search engines, you have an expected click-through rate. That click-through rate will deliver an expected amount of visitors. And those visitors, you can put goals in place at what percentage of those visitors should you convert and turn into leads or prospective members. And you probably already have a good understanding, or someone within the organization understands, of the number of leads I produce, what percentage will turn into customers. So you can start to put together these really informative and well thought out dashboard goals. And so maybe you have a stretch goal for your conversion rate, or maybe you have a stretch goal for the number of visitors based on some target terms you want to optimize your website for. But because you have that understanding of the market size, because you have that understanding of the click share and what type of success you want to experience with your website, you can now put together these business-driven dashboards for your digital marketing campaigns. Okay, so moving on to the top 3 things that an audit tends to reveal. So what we're going to talk about are really the common themes of the fixes and the needs that immediately follow the audit. So once you've done the audit, there's definitely work to do, and there's next steps to take. Typically what we see is that the content needs to be realigned, that the content you've produced might be good content and might be underperforming just because you're not using the same terminology that your consumers are, that you're not exactly hitting on the same search query that your consumers are. So realigning your content to match how people search, how your customers search, what those queries are that your user base are searching that we've identified as the true and total market is a big part of our common next step that we see happen with the audit. After the content realignment, believe it or not, most sites have technical inefficiencies that are preventing them from ranking. And so whether that's your mobile speed or your desktop site speed or the size of the images that your site is asking the browser to render, or the use of JavaScript on the site and not caching certain content in the browser, all kinds of different technical reasons. Maybe it's just server errors. Maybe you migrated your site and you changed all the URLs and you didn't tell the search engines to redirect that old equity to this new page, so you have these technical errors. Another common area of fix after the audit. And then finally, the distribution of clicks. For most organizations, growth online is going to come from people who don't know your brand, by answering questions that people search before they're searching a brand, the what is or how do I type of questions. And so understanding what that click distribution is today and where the value is going to be found in terms of non-branded or category queries, and beginning your content production and content strategy, or your customer targeting a little bit differently based on that distribution of clicks, is also one of the most common next steps and themes that we find from doing this type of work. And the reality is, when we put down these types of goals and knowledge on paper, we're 3 times as likely to hit a business goal, because we are tying these marketing metrics down to real business objectives like membership growth. We're going to be 3 times as likely to hit business goals. So a few action items. 1, understand that Google provides you with an incredible amount of data to help you make better business decisions. 2, the realization of mobile and how frequently it's used and how important it is to providing a positive experience online is critical. And understanding that a lot of search queries and search sessions and decisions are made across multiple devices. So being prepared to handle that is critical. And finally, if you use this link, you can actually download a complete SEO audit checklist that we provide. So Jason,
thank you.
I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, Derek. So thank you for sharing with us. We really appreciate it. So for those of you who have attended previous webinars, you know that very briefly, before I open the floor to the Q&A portion, I always like to connect the dots from what our expert shares to what we do at Engage. And a unique opportunity for today, for those of you on the call who are nonprofits, after I give you a quick spiel about what we do here, Derek's going to come back and share with us how you can get $10,000 in grants from Google. So
per month.
Oh, per month.
Per month.
Even better, 120 grand in grants from Google. So hang tight. Very quickly, Engage is an enterprise-level digital firm. We're based here in St. Louis, so we bring a Midwestern culture and work ethic to our projects with an all-local staff of designers and developers. We've been doing this as our 18th year, so we've been at this for a long time. And in my time here at Engage, I don't think a day goes by that I haven't learned something new, today included.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Derek. So ours is a field that just keeps, and I love this choice of words, evolving. So our services here are targeted to Microsoft-centric clients and include CMS, AMS, and CRM integration. Plus, we offer custom software development, which essentially means if you can envision a piece of software, we can build it for you. Our work with the association vertical includes information architecture, user interface, user experience, design, strategy, and web and mobile development. You'll note that what we don't do is SEO and SEM. And that's why we create partnerships with experts like Derek and Evolve. Instead, and here's where I'm connecting the dots, our expertise lies in the insights from an audit into action. So for example, in Derek's presentation where we saw about content realignment, we would at Engage leverage our experience with content management systems and information architecture and content strategy to apply that learning to your website. And for technical items, like the example he gave about website speeds and mobile design, that's where we'd step in as expert developers and help make those website improvements. And that, I told you I'd be quick, connects the dots. So at the beginning of this portion, I mentioned you were going to learn from Derek about that $120,000 in grants. So Derek, please share.
Absolutely. I'm not sure how well known this is throughout the not-for-profit community, but Google has this really awesome program called Ad Grants. And what it essentially is, it's a grant of advertising dollars for not-for-profits. There's some paperwork to fill out to validate your 501c3 status, but we've helped a number of organizations get through this before, and we're happy to help any organization on the webinar get through this as well. You just fill out the form. Once you're approved, you start getting up to $10,000 a month. There are a few stipulations with it, nitty-gritty details, but there really are very few catches for what can be a great source of traffic and membership growth opportunities.
Okay, so as a reminder, if anyone has any questions, we've got a couple of that have come in, but please feel free to continue to ask while we go through the ones that we have on hand. So first, Derek, what does an assessment typically cost?
Yeah, great question. So the costs really vary by the size of the site and the complexity of the ask. You know, how complex is your marketplace? But typically we see these starting at about $15,000.
So next is, could I do an assessment on my own? If so, where would I begin?
Absolutely. So there's definitely tons of software out there. You've got things like our checklist that we mentioned earlier to help you get started on doing an audit yourself. I think the biggest challenge that we hear from organizations that have tried themselves or have started down this path is just finding the time, carving out the time to get it done, because it certainly is time consuming. It takes a lot of time to organize the information and then do the analysis. So time is a big deal, and then just the process, getting the process down of extracting the data from Google or from other SEO-like software.
Okay. And finally, it looks like the last question, oh, this is probably tied to the free money. What should I expect to spend on SEM in Google?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have clients that are spending literally millions of dollars a month, and we have clients that are spending a few $1,000s a month. So in terms of investing in AdWords, it's about how quickly can you get that ROI, and what is the threshold there. So people come in and invest at all different levels, but for most of our clients, it's one of the fastest growing areas of their budget because they do see that ROI, and it's so easy to track from click to customer. So it's easy to go get more dollars from the CFO, from your finance guy.
Right. So once you see that that dollar invested can bring you back maybe a dollar, $25.50 in membership fees,
absolutely,
in donations, then you can go back and get more spent.
That's absolutely.
Okay, with that, I think that was the last question. Take just a second if anybody has any new ones, but I think that brings us to our conclusion. So just to wrap up, just a reminder about that gift card, and please stick around. As soon as you close out of the webinar, you'll be given the opportunity. It is just 5 quick questions, and again, the reason we ask those questions is to improve on this, so that when we invite you back, it's content that you find of value. So thank you again for attending today. I want to encourage everyone to make a note in their calendars. On April 20th, we've lined up our next presentation, number 6. It will be Empowering Your Members with Strategic Marketing. That will be hosted by Lindsay Matouche of Vario Consulting. Very impressive woman. And I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, that looks good.
That'll be a really nice presentation. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Derek, thank you once again.
My pleasure.
That was wonderful. And we appreciate you coming out and presenting with us. As a reminder, everybody, we'll be sending out a recording of today's webinar. Thank you for attending.